The waves at Canon Beach had been rough all morning, white crests crashing harder than usual against the dark rocks. I had brought my 6-year-old daughter, Mia, hoping for a quiet day. Sandcastles, maybe flying her little red kite, but the ocean had other plans. That's when I saw her. A woman tangled in the surf, limp and drifting where the water met the sand. My heart stopped. Without thinking, I dropped my jacket and ran into the waves, every step sinking into cold, churning water. Mia's scream cut through the roar of the sea. "Daddy, she's not moving!" I knelt on the wet sand, salt stinging my eyes, chest pounding, hands shaking but steady as I checked her airway and began compressions. 1, 2, 3, breathe! My voice quivered as I barked for someone to call for help, but my eyes never left her pale face. "Is she going to die?" Mia's tiny hand gripped my arm, her voice trembling. "You're going to be okay, sweetheart," I said, forcing my own fear down. Every push on her chest felt like a plea. And then, suddenly, she gasped. Water exploded from her lips and her body jolted awake. Relief crashed over me harder than any wave. She blinked at me, dazed. What happened?" she whispered. I steadied her by the arm. "You were drowning. You blacked out. I pulled you out." Mia edged closer, unable to take her eyes off this stranger. "You scared me," she whispered. The woman's pale face softened into a gentle smile as she reached out, brushing Mia's hand with hers. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I didn't mean to." I draped a towel over her shoulders, feeling the weight of what could have been. "You should be checked at the lifeguard station." She nodded, her gaze steady now. "My name is Lauren," she murmured, faintly smiling. And just like that, Mia slipped her small hand into hers, gripping tightly, as if she had known Lauren forever. The paramedics assured us she'd be fine by the time the sun began to dip behind Canon Beach's cliffs. As I gathered our things, Mia tugged at my sleeve, eyes shining with determination. "Daddy, can she come to dinner with us?" I hesitated. Our evening was supposed to be ordinary. Takeout in our small Portland apartment, Mia's drawings spread across the table, the comfort of routine. But Mia's small hand gripped mine insistently. "She needs food. You always say food makes everything better." Lauren's protest was soft, almost embarrassed, but her eyes flickered with something unspoken. I surprised myself, saying, "You'd be welcome." 20 minutes later, she sat at our kitchen table, a hoodie borrowed from me swallowing her small frame, sleeves falling past her wrists. The apartment smelled of garlic and tomatoes simmering on the stove. Mia proudly laid her crayon drawings in front of Lauren, explaining each one with dramatic flair. Lauren listened as if every scribble were a masterpiece, her smile soft, her attention unwavering. I leaned against the counter, stirring the pasta, noticing the way she fit into this small, messy world. Not just her dark hair still damp from the sea, but the way she leaned toward Mia made my daughter feel important, seen. Dinner was simple. Steaming bowls of pasta, cheap red wine in mismatched glasses. Lauren accepted everything with quiet gratitude. "This is wonderful," she said softly. I laughed. "It's just pasta." She shook her head. "No, it feels like home." Conversation flowed easily. Mia chattering about school and her favorite books, Lauren asking questions that were curious, not polite, and I found myself listening to the sound of her voice, the way it mingled with Mia's laughter, wondering how someone could feel so natural in my life after one brief, terrifying moment. 3 days passed, but I couldn't push her from my mind. The sound of her voice, the way Mia had held her hand, the weight of her words lingered. Each time Mia drew a new picture, she asked if we could show it to Lauren. Each time I reached for the pasta jar, I remembered her smile over our mismatched glasses. The third morning, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hesitation, then a voice I knew immediately. "It's Lauren from the beach." My heart jolted. "I was hoping I could talk to you." The rest of the day fell into a rhythm I hadn't expected, and for the first time in weeks, the ordinary felt like it might be the start of something extraordinary. Lauren arrived that evening in a sleek black SUV, hair loose and windswept, her tailored coat brushing the car door as she stepped out. My hands were still dusty from work, sweat clinging to my shirt, but I couldn't help staring. She looked out of place here among the cracked sidewalks and worn buildings, yet somehow exactly herself, graceful, unbothered, alive. "I didn't have to come all this way," I said, brushing dust from my jeans. "I wanted to," she replied simply, eyes scanning the half-finished brownstone behind me. "I didn't say goodbye properly the other night. I left too quickly." Her voice carried a softness, a quiet vulnerability that made me pause. "You were fine," I said, gesturing toward the scaffolding and scattered tools. "Not shaken, not even a little." She gave a faint smile, brushing a strand of hair from her face, her eyes holding mine. "I wanted to see you both again," she admitted, voice low, careful. "For a moment, just to be part of your world, even if briefly." I nodded slowly, letting her words sink in. "All right, dinner then." The city hummed around us as we drove, streets bathed in the glow of streetlights and neon signs. I didn't need to ask where we were going. She trusted me, and somehow that felt more important than knowing the exact address. By the time we arrived at Lincoln Park, the sky was clear, soft with the kind of light that made Portland feel smaller, gentler. Mia spotted her instantly and ran, arms wide. Lauren crouched down, handing her a lemonade cup, laughing at the sticky grip of her small fingers. "Want to help me find the worst hot dog?" she asked, smiling at Mia's giggles. I trailed behind, watching them move together through the chaos of food trucks, the smell of frying spices filling the air. Mia was fearless, leading Lauren from churros to tacos, ranking each with a score out of 10, Lauren playing along dramatically. I laughed quietly to myself. She wasn't polished or perfect here. She was just present, messy and real, and somehow it was perfect. After a while, when Mia darted off to chase Bubbles, Lauren and I found a quieter spot beneath the string lights. I leaned against the railing, arms crossed, studying her. "You always have a driver waiting. Tailored suits, expensive shoes. You don't exactly blend in here." She looked out at the grass, then back up at me. "I didn't tell you the other night because I didn't want you to look at me the way most people do. My father built hotels, a whole chain. When he passed, I inherited everything." Her words hung in the cool night, heavy with weight. I didn't flinch. I only said, softly, "I don't need your money." She exhaled, a small relief flickering in her eyes. "Lord, I know." Across the park, Mia's laughter rang out, spinning with the bubbles, oblivious to adult concerns. I followed the sound for a moment, then turned back to Lauren. Her gaze held mine, searching, vulnerable. The night stretched on with easy conversation, churros in hand, small glances exchanged across the flickering lights. There was no rush, no pressure, just the quiet rhythm of two people feeling their way towards something fragile, tentative, but undeniable. Sunday arrived, bright and clear, the kind of morning that made Portland shimmer. We met again, this time at the Oregon Coast Aquarium. Mia bounced on her toes at the entrance, clutching the brochure Lauren had given her as if it were a treasure. Lauren arrived in sneakers, braid loose, navy coat softening her elegance. She crouched to Mia's level, voice warm. "I heard there's a giant octopus inside. Do you think we'll find it?" Mia nodded furiously, dragging us toward the gates. Inside, the aquarium pulsed with life. Schools of silver fish swirled, stingrays glided like kites, jellyfish shimmered in golden light. Mia darted from tank to tank, hands pressed to the glass, narrating everything she saw. Lauren stayed close, crouching, pointing out sharp teeth and delicate fins, moving easily through our little family rhythm. I trailed behind, watching them move together through the chaos of food trucks, the smell of frying spices filling the air. Mia was fearless, leading Lauren from churros to tacos, ranking each with a score out of 10, Lauren playing along dramatically. I laughed quietly to myself. She wasn't polished or perfect here. She was just present, messy and real, and somehow it was perfect. After a while, when Mia darted off to chase Bubbles, Lauren and I found a quieter spot beneath the string lights. I leaned against the railing, arms crossed, studying her. "You always have a driver waiting. Tailored suits, expensive shoes. You don't exactly blend in here." She looked down at the grass, then back up at me. "I didn't tell you the other night because I didn't want you to look at me the way most people do. My father built hotels, a whole chain. When he passed, I inherited everything. Her words hung in the cool night, heavy with weight. I didn't flinch. I only said, softly, "I don't need your money." She exhaled, a small relief flickering in her eyes. Lord, I know. Across the park, Mia's laughter rang out, spinning with the bubbles, oblivious to adult concerns. I followed the sound for a moment, then turned back to Lauren. Her gaze held mine, searching, vulnerable. The night stretched on with easy conversation, churros in hand, small glances exchanged across the flickering lights. There was no rush, no pressure, just the quiet rhythm of two people feeling their way towards something fragile, tentative, but undeniable. Sunday arrived, bright and clear, the kind of morning that made Portland shimmer. We met again, this time at the Oregon Coast Aquarium. Mia bounced on her toes at the entrance, clutching the brochure Lauren had given her as if it were a treasure. Lauren arrived in sneakers, braid loose, navy coat softening her elegance. She crouched to Mia's level, voice warm. "I heard there's a giant octopus inside. Do you think we'll find it?" Mia nodded furiously, dragging us toward the gates. Inside, the aquarium pulsed with life. Schools of silver fish swirled, stingrays glided like kites, jellyfish shimmered in golden light. Mia darted from tank to tank, hands pressed to the glass, narrating everything she saw. Lauren stayed close, crouching, pointing out sharp teeth and delicate fins, moving easily through our little family rhythm. At the jellyfish exhibit, their light painting soft patterns across our faces, Lauren spoke quietly. "She's smart, too smart sometimes," she said, looking at Mia. I rubbed my neck. "I'm just trying not to mess her up." She turned to me, steady, sincere. "You're doing a good job with her." My chest tightened. Compliments didn't come easily, but hers felt different, earned, not flippant. The weeks passed in quiet rhythm. Lauren became part of our routines without forcing herself in. She came with board games, puppet show tickets, sometimes just to sit with Mia while I worked. She helped with school pickups, laundry, dinners. She made mistakes, sure, burnt grilled cheese, mismatched socks, but Mia loved every moment, and slowly, so did I. One snowy night, she knocked at our door with soup from a nearby restaurant, cheeks flushed from the cold. Mia bounded into the kitchen in her pajamas, eyes wide. Lauren crouched to greet her. Soft smiles exchanged, simple gestures that made our little apartment feel warmer than ever. I watched from the doorway, realizing she wasn't here for appearances. She was here for us, for me. And in that quiet night, I understood. Love didn't arrive with grand gestures or wealth. It arrived in mismatched moments, in burnt grilled cheese, lemonade in plastic cups, hands brushing as we guided Mia through life. It arrived quietly, but it was undeniable. Spring arrived in Portland with soft sunlight and skies so blue they almost hurt your eyes. Mia spent hours outside, her laughter spilling across the yard, chasing her little red kite while Lauren and I watched from the porch. She was free, unburdened, and it was all we could do not to run out and lift her into the sky ourselves. Lauren sat beside me, barefoot, a glass of lemonade in her hand, hair loose and catching the sunlight. I noticed the small details I hadn't before, the way her eyes followed Mia, the quiet way she fit into our chaotic, imperfect life. I admitted something I hadn't before. "You still think about the night on the beach every time I see your smile like that," I said. She smiled softly. "Back then it was just survival, me and her against the world. Now," I trailed off, glancing at her, my voice dropping. "Now it feels like a life." She reached for my hand, fingers weaving through mine. "Not perfect," she said softly. "Not perfect," I agreed, squeezing her hand. It was clumsy, messy, and full of interruptions, exactly like our life, but somehow exactly right. Mia's laughter rang out again as she tumbled in the grass, kite string wrapped around her arms. I ran to untangle it, and Lauren helped, brushing the dirt from Mia's jeans with a quiet laugh. Weeks passed, routines solidifying. Lauren wasn't a visitor anymore. She was part of our rhythm. She picked up Mia from school, helped with homework, even stayed late when I worked long hours. She cooked, folded laundry, and spent evenings with us, her presence no longer temporary, but constant. I began to rely on her, and even more, I wanted her there. Then the call came about the big renovation project downtown, a hotel, months of work, full-time, steady pay, the kind of job that could change everything for Mia and me, but also the kind of job that would take me away from home long hours every day. I told Lauren over takeout, watching Mia build a Lego tower nearby. "It's good money, but I'll need help," I admitted. She set down her chopsticks, eyes steady. "Then let me help," she said. I searched her face, not sure she understood what she was offering. Not just visits, not just fun weekends. Early mornings, parent-teacher meetings, laundry that never ends, all of it? "I want all of it," she said simply. It felt strange at first, the shift from occasional presence to daily life, but slowly our routines bent around her. School pickups became easier, homework nights filled with laughter, laundry folded with Mia perched on the couch, watching Lauren's every move. She wasn't trying to replace anyone. She was showing up day after day, choosing to be part of our little family. Late one night, I returned home from work to find Lauren sitting with Mia on the couch, a storybook open across both their laps. Mia was asleep, curled against Lauren's side. I watched them for a moment, the quiet hum of the apartment around us, realizing this was what balance looked like. Not perfect, not polished, but steady and warm. Later, when Mia was tucked in bed, Lauren lingered in the kitchen. "You don't have to do all this," I said softly. "I don't have to," she said, "but I want to." Those words hit me harder than I could imagine. For years, I had carried everything alone. And now, here she was, choosing to be with us, imperfections and all. In the quiet of that night, I finally let myself believe it might just last. A few weeks later, I asked Lauren to drive with me somewhere. I didn't say where, only told her to dress warm. The morning was pale, the kind of soft light that made the city's edges gentle. Canon Beach stretched wide before us, empty except for the gulls circling overhead. I parked near the dunes, boots sinking into wet sand. "This is where it started," I said quietly. "Back when it was just me and Mia. I came here when everything felt too heavy. It was the only place I could breathe." She looked at me, eyes steady, cold flush on her cheeks softening the sharp lines of her face. "You don't have to carry it all anymore," she said. Her voice barely above the wind, yet it cut through everything else. I turned toward her. "I don't have a ring, Lauren." "Not yet, but I've got a toolbox full of things I can build." Her words were simple, but the weight behind them stopped me. She wanted to build, with us, with Mia, something lasting. I swallowed, nodding slowly. "Then let's build it." The waves crashed behind us as we walked along the sand, our hands entwined. The wind tugged at our coats, our footprints marking the damp beach before the tide erased them. It wasn't grand or polished, no rings sparkling under chandeliers, just us, steady hands, open hearts, and a quiet promise in the rhythm of the ocean. In that moment, I realized that the strongest things weren't in wealth or grandeur, but in the ordinary, messy, everyday acts of love. A shared meal, a kite flying high, bedtime stories, hands held tight. Lauren's choice to be with us, her presence, her laughter, it was everything. And for the first time in years, I finally let myself believe it might just last. The following spring, the city felt alive in a way I hadn't noticed before. Birds sang along the streets, the sunlight glinted off rooftops, and Portland seemed softer, brighter. Mia spent hours outside, her laughter echoing as she ran across the yard, the red kite tugging at her small hands. Lauren and I watched from the porch, the cool breeze tugging at our hair, our hands brushing together without thinking. She fit into our life now, fully, not as a visitor but as someone we couldn't imagine being without. "She looks free," Lauren murmured softly, eyes following Mia as she twirled, spinning in circles, lifting her kite higher and higher. "She is," I said, leaning against the post, "more than I ever thought she could be." We sat there quietly for a long moment, the sound of the swing creaking, leaves rustling, the faint laughter of a child carrying over it all. It was messy, imperfect, and exactly right. Our life together wasn't a fairy tale. It was harder, more ordinary, and infinitely more real. One afternoon, I asked Lauren to join me for a drive. She didn't question me, only bundled up, slipping into the truck beside me. We drove west until the land opened, the ocean stretching wide before us. Canon Beach, nearly empty that day, was a place of memory and beginnings. "This is where it started," I said, gesturing to the waves, where it was just me and Mia, trying to survive. She turned to me, eyes soft but steady. "You don't have to carry it all anymore," she said. I looked at her, my heart catching. "I don't have a ring, Lauren," I admitted. "Not yet," she whispered, "but you have a toolbox full of things you can build." It wasn't a grand proposal, no velvet box, no sparkling diamonds. It was simple, honest, a promise in the salt air, in our footprints along the wet sand, in the warmth of her hand laced through mine. "Then let's build it," I said. And that's what we would do. Build a life together. Messy, real, unpolished, but ours. The months that followed were quiet miracles. Lauren became part of our daily lives, not by obligation, but by choice. She cooked with Mia clamoring beside her. She stayed for bedtime stories. She laughed at burnt grilled cheese sandwiches. And every day, every small moment reminded me that love didn't need grandeur. It needed presence, effort, and heart. One morning, as the sun spilled through our kitchen window, Lauren brought Mia a bowl of cereal, her hair tousled from sleep. I watched them, and for the first time in a long time, I felt fully at peace. The past, the struggles, the loneliness, the fear, hadn't disappeared, but it no longer defined us. We moved into our new home quietly, boxes stacked high, the smell of fresh paint mingling with sawdust. Lauren's touch was everywhere, soft curtains catching the morning light, small spaces designated for Mia's endless imagination. We built a swing on the porch together, nails in hand, laughter spilling into the wide open yard. Mia flew her kite again that afternoon, the red tail looping in the wind, her laughter carrying over the block. Lauren and I sat on the porch steps, hands intertwined, watching her. The kite dipped and soared, tangled and free, and we called back to her, laughing, as we helped untangle the string. "I never thought this could feel like home," Lauren said softly, leaning her shoulder against mine. "It does," I said, and it felt like more than words. It was everything we had built together, the ordinary moments, the messy dinners, the quiet nights, the laughter, the tears, the unwavering presence. That was home. That was family. That was love. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in gold and pink, we sat there, 3 hearts beating together. The kite rested limp on the yard, lemonade glasses sweating in the warm air, and Mia's contented sigh floated across the porch. Nothing grand, nothing polished, just life. And it was enough. Lauren smiled at me, quiet and steady. "Not perfect," she said. "Not perfect," I agreed, squeezing her hand. And in that imperfect, ordinary perfection, we found everything we had been searching for: love, belonging, family, and the quiet knowledge that sometimes the simplest moments are the ones that last.